Pokemon that are in my new paper computer game, Pokémon Stop. So I use these weird little cards to represent the Pokemon, and obviously, as you can see, this is a creeper from Minecraft. I use a mix of Pokemon from all the different, from all different games, movies, whatever, universes. I just take creatures and turn them into Pokemon for this game. Some of them are actually from Pokemon, but I also mixed it up a little bit. So, yeah, you got Creeper, and basically he explodes and deals damage. Unlike Minecraft, Creeper can regenerate immediately, so that, he's not a one-use Pokemon. That would suck. So, but his explosion is pretty powerful, and he can be used to, level a whole area. You got Krypton Firefly. This guy's from the old, classic 1960s Superman comics. On Krypton, there are these, giant fireflies. You can, ride them. They breathe fire. So, wanted to put that one in there. You got Envy. This is from Pierre's Paper Computer Games. It's sort of like a shadow being that lives underwater. Each one of her hairs, her tendrils, is kind of like... it looks like a beautiful woman, but it tries to lure you, and it drags you down into the water and kills you. So these three are your starting Pokemon in the game. So this is kind of like your Bulbasaur, your Charmander, and your Squirtle for this game. Each Pokemon game has a choice of those, a grass, a water, and a fire type. So that's these three. Then we have all sorts of other things. We got Boo. That is obviously from Mario. Charmander. Wanted to keep him in there. And more importantly, Porg. The new Star Wars movies are out. I wanted to tie into those. And Porg seemed to be a big thing at the moment. So threw those guys in there. But then, of course... To go along with that, you got Rancor. You can't have a Pokemon game without Rancor, so that's why he's in there. Green Bubble is from Chris's recent paper computer game. It's sort of like a bubble, but if you touch it, you can't even touch it, because if you try to do anything to it, you find yourself doing it to something else instead. I got some more classics like Magnemite, Wartortle, Squirtle. Magnemite seemed pretty cool. I wanted to include him because, well, first of all, there's a whole zone of this game that's like a robot zone. And, I wanted to put in a lot of new robot Pokemon, some of which are from my other paper computer games, or, Kurt's paper computer games, some of which are, from Star Wars, well, you'll see in a bit. But Magnemite seemed like a good, traditional Pokemon to throw in there that kind of fits in with the other robots, so it seemed like a good thing to kind of ground it in established Pokemon lore. And, Charmander, there's also Charizard and Charmeleon. Here's another one from Star Wars. Yodel. Okay, so we don't actually know what Yoda's species is. I looked this up on the Star Wars wiki. We don't know what they're called. We've in the expanded universe, the novels, comics, etc. We've seen other members of Yoda's species, but there's never been an official name for them. We don't know what planet they're from. So I called it Yodel. So, so that you'll know immediately that this is, related to Yoda, but it's his type of creature. It's not just that one guy. Of course, Missing No. Missing No is my favorite Pokemon from the original game. He is a glitch Pokemon. He's not supposed to be there, for those of you who don't know. And he distorts, he messes up some of the data, some of the text when you're using him in your team. So, when I was making my own Pokemon game, I had to include him somehow. So his power is that he distorts reality around him. He is you know, if you use him, you can like just kind of mess up reality in weird ways. So, it'll be interesting to see how that gets played when Ari plays it. And by the way, if you want to see like Ari actually play this game, we have a series of Let's Play videos of that, and we'll be adding to that series soon. So, but Missing No hasn't yet showed up in those, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. We have one of the classic legendary Pokemon, Moltres. Squirtle evolves into Blastoise still. We also have Articuno. Then there is some new things, like from, let me get this stuff out of the way. From, my paper computer games, this guy's Fig. Like, Figs are, they just kind of don't think they deserve anything. It's like, they don't think they deserve to have any items, they don't deserve to be helped, they don't deserve, you know, food. They don't deserve anything. They basically don't even think they deserve to live. So they're pretty annoying and useless, except that there might be more to them than meets the eye. They might have some sort of hidden power, so of course I had to include them as a Pokemon. Yamask is from some of the newer Pokemon games. He's sort of like a shadow being, like a ghostly figure that holds a mask of what its human face used to look like. That is in there because that fits well like in the Shadow Path. Like one of the 3 regions of this game is the Shadow Path, and that has a lot of ghostly figures. So that's why I included that one. It fits in thematically. Oh yeah, by the way, we have the 3rd legendary Pokemon, Zapdos. Here's another thing from paper computer games is Wooboob. This is from Kurtz Games originally, and Wooboob is the unluckiest creature in the universe. He is just a challenge to keep alive. I don't know why you would want this as a Pokemon, honestly, but somehow, like, in Kurtz Games, when I originally played it, like, I found it and I kept trying to keep it alive. Like, I don't know why. It was like, it's because it's a challenge. Like, that's why, I guess. Like, it was in that game, it was completely optional. There's no reason you have to keep this guy alive, and yet you keep doing it somehow. You just can't let him die. Like, so now he's a Pokemon, so we'll see how that gets played when Ari gets up to that. The Umbreon is a little bit like that. Is actually from the later generation Pokemon games, but I changed him a little. See, my version is, like a mask, is actually a shadow being. It's like, sort of like a ghostly figure with a mask, like, to fit in with the theme. The original Umbreon is actually a creature, like Eevee evolves into it, and it just, like, looks dark. Mine is, like, it's actually made of shadow, and it has a mask, and that helps it fit in with the other shadow Pokemon of the Shadow region. So then we have Baby. That is like, it's just like it's a robot, but it's just a box robot. It doesn't have any arms or legs yet. When it evolves, it will. But in this form, all it can do is it can hold items, so it can act as an inventory, which is good, because unlike other paper computer games, in Pokémon Stop, there's no inventory screen. So, yeah. And this is a Musafint. Musafint is from Chris's recent paper computer game, Ghosts. In Ghosts, he's just a mounted head on a wall of this strange creature called a Musafint, which is some sort of cross between a moose and an elephant, I guess. Well, it's some weird thing that is perpetually surprised at its own existence. So, I thought it was a good thing to throw in here. Like, previously we only saw its head, because it was a mounted head on the wall in that game, but... So this is the first time we're seeing a full-fledged Musafint. So this is the main thing. This is an Umbreon. Umbreons are sort of like a shadow people, like, again, with the mask. Like, the mask is their only physical part. If you break it, you break their connection to this world. These are from Pierre's Paper Computer Games, and I wanted to make them a big component of this because the Shadow Path is sort of loosely based on Pierre's whole Paper Computer Game series. Like it's a Pokemon universe version of that stuff. So the Umbreons are pretty significant. So I figured Umbreon, which is actually a real Pokemon, I could make that into sort of like an animal version of an Umbreon, and it would fit in thematically. And you know, your mask also works with that. Then let's see, we have Kylian. Kylian, it's sort of hard to tell, but they're beings of pure light. They also have masks, like the Umbreon, but the Kylian is sort of like, their mask is crystal, and their body is just pure light, and they're sort of like the opposite of an Umbreon, and they're more powerful. They're just incredibly powerful beings of light. So anyway, back to Baby, the robot. He evolves into Boxbot, which still has the inventory abilities, but he has arms and legs, so now he can at least fight a little bit. Then finally, in his final form, he evolves into Tutorial Bot. Tutorial Bot is a classic character from Kurt's Paper Computer Games. He floats along and offers you tutorials, which are completely useless. And yeah, he's one of the most classic characters. Then we have Andalite from the Animorphs books. This was a series of books back in the 90s, and the Andalites were an alien species that created the morphing. That created the morphing technology. They can morph. So this guy can morph, as a Pokemon, and he has this tail, which is a blade, which is pretty powerful, and he can speak to you in thought speak. So I thought that was a pretty cool guide to include. Then, of course, let's see, we've got some more stuff over here. We've got BB-8 from Star Wars. He is obviously, from the new movies. He's a droid. He can roll around and do stuff for you. 8-Ball is one of the most dangerous creatures in the paper computer game. In all of paper computer games. 8-Balls are universally hated. Nobody likes 8-Balls. They're super fast and deadly. Their fur is razor sharp. You don't want to mess with the 8-Balls. Like, if you provoke one, it'll be on you and you'll be dead before you can, do anything. So, obviously I had to include them here. You got your Pikmin, from the game Pikmin. They're little guys. They kind of whap things with the leaf on top of their head. You got Yoster this is really Yoshi, but when I was a kid, because how in Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, Yoshi's Island is called Yoster Island, so for a long time I believed wrongly that the species is called Yoster, and the Mario's friend, the one we know, his name is Yoshi and the species is Yoster, which would make a lot more sense, but apparently that's not true. The species is actually called Yoshi, but you know what? This is my game, so what the heck? I can do whatever I want. In this game, the species is called Yoster, so... Then we have Zoo Chomper. This is also from Kurt's Paper Computer Games. He is sort of like a gelatinous creature that absorbs like anything else and can take on its characteristics. What kind of Pokemon game would this be if it didn't have Pikachu? I mean, come on, it's Pokemon. Then we've got Zubat, because why not? Now, if you've ever watched Game Theory on YouTube, he has a video that argues that humans might actually be Pokemon as well. So in this game, I went with that idea, and you can actually catch a human as a Pokemon. And you might think that's useless. It sure is useless in a fight. However, he can be pretty handy in that he can build tools for you and do things that humans, are good at. And, you might think, like, oh, well, I could just do that myself. True. However, human can work with all the other humans, and it ends up being pretty effective. So far, Ari used it to build a ladder for himself. That, like, he had guys running around doing stuff for him. It's pretty handy. So then we got Demo Dog from the new Stranger Things. These are pretty durable. This is not the full form of the Demogorgon. It evolves into that. But, this guy already, he's resistant to gunshots, and he's pretty darn powerful. Then you got your Metroid. These, like, guys kind of leech life, obviously, from the game Metroid. They're one of the most common enemies. From Mario, you got Goomba. I mean, these guys, like, if you've ever played Mario, you know what these guys are. You pretty much just stomp them. They don't really have any abilities beyond that. That's just what they are. Then you got Tektite. That's from The Legend of Zelda. Like, there's a mountain area in this game, so I figured, might as well include the Tektites. They look like a Pokemon anyway, so they fit right in, I figured. Then you have Zoombini. This is from, like, the 90s game Logical Journey of the Zoombinis. These guys are really good at solving logical puzzles because that's what that game was all about. So I figured, why not include that? And so far it's been working out pretty well. Like, their logic has been, like, turns out to be more helpful than you might imagine. Then you have Enderman from Minecraft. These guys are kind of creepy and kind of mysterious and pretty darn cool. And, I don't know what else to say about them. Morlocks. This is from, like, one of my favorite books is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. And in that book, it's in the far future, humans have evolved into, two separate species, one of which is kind of cannibalistic. They're called the Morlocks. They live underground, So, in this game, like, the human Pokemon evolves into the Morlock. So, they're pretty useful. They can climb walls and get things for you. Of course, there's Kirby, because, he can do a lot of stuff. I mean, he's a little bit like the Zoo Chomper, and in this game I decided that he and the Zoo Chomper are related. There was a game theory video that Kirby is actually a single-celled organism, and I went with that idea because it makes sense, and, so I put that in his Pokedex entry. But he can, fly up, he can pound, he can take on the characteristics of things he eats. So that's pretty cool. You got your Ewok from Star Wars. These guys are really good at building traps. So that is really cool. So, like, building traps is sometimes the most effective way of combating certain Pokemon. So Ewok is really handy. And then Koopa. There was one scene where... with a lot of, like, tilted floors. So if you jump on the Koopa, like, he retreats into his shell, and then you kick him, he, like, slams through a whole, like, line of enemies. So he's a pretty useful Pokemon. Then you have a more traditional one. You got Caterpie. Here's the Tribble from Star Trek. For those who don't know, Tribbles are like these cute little fluff balls from Star Trek, and basically what they are is they just calm people down. Everyone likes them except the Klingons. The Klingons hate them, but everyone else likes them. They calm people down, and they just reproduce super fast. So, like, within a few days, they'll, like, overrun your ship. But they don't harm anybody. They're just super cute, and that's all. They eat all your food. And then you just got Squirrel. There's nothing special about that. It really is just a squirrel. I don't know why that's a Pokemon, but it is. Then you have Silver Scorpion. That's from Keith's games. This is a super deadly thing. Kind of hides in skeletons, kills you. Then you have the Licker from Resident Evil. that is, well, self-explanatory. In Resident Evil, it's a sort of like a zombie that like has this super long tongue that can be used as a weapon. It's pretty hard to kill, and yeah, that makes it pretty formidable. You have King Koopa. Regular Koopa evolves into this. This is basically Bowser, and he's pretty handy in a fight. So what else have I got for you today? Then we got Voltorb. You know, classic Pokemon, blows up when you get too close. You got Snorlax. He's blocking the path in one screen in this game. Then you got Demogorgon. Obviously, Demodog evolves into Demogorgon. For this guy, I decided not to go with the exactly the Stranger Things version. It's mostly based on the Stranger Things version of the Demogorgon, but I also incorporate, I looked at the Dungeons and Dragons version as well. So I incorporated the fact that from the D&D version he has two heads, and they kind of fight for control. But you know, in both the Stranger Things and the D&D version, Demogorgon has some sort of hypnotic powers. He has some sort of telekinetic powers. So any way you slice it, this guy's pretty formidable. The only thing he's really weak to is fire, but you know, this is a very powerful Pokemon. Then you got Butterfree, another traditional Pokemon. You got Pac-Man, because, you know, how could you not? Come on. But that's a secret one, and Pac-Ghost. Then, from StarCraft, you have the Zergling. This is sort of like, well, they're like a pretty fast, like, and aggressive kind of alien, and they're part of a hive mind. They attack in packs, swarms. Like, there's a lot of them, and like they rush you, and you know, overwhelm the enemy base. You got the Xenomorph from the Alien movies, and then you got Zuki, and then there's one more Pokemon, which I think is just secret. I'm not going to reveal him right now. So, yeah, guys, those are the Pokemon I've chosen. Some of them are poorly drawn, some of them are not so poorly drawn, but I've done the best I can. And, yeah, so that's for my game Pokémon Stop. If you want to see Ari playing it, check out, you know, our video series, our Let's Play video series on that. So that's all for now. Thanks for watching.